The Heart of the Lion, Tools of Talismanic Correspondence for Full Snow Moon, February 2022. We've been doing a lot of work regarding transformations and shadow work over the past year. The readings, as well as some very real-life realizations, as well as a lot of hidden illuminations, have been revealed throughout the process. I've had quite the knack for waiting until a day or two before a new working to place the information. However, this one is going to take a bit of prep time. So I wanted to be sure I gave plenty of notice in case you are planning on participating. February 1st is the Chinese New Year. 2022 is the year of the water tiger. February 16th is the full snow moon and also the Lantern Festival, as a celebration of honoring the ancestors, as well as reconciliation, peace, and forgiveness. This reconciliation can be within ourselves or within our relationships, past or present. It's a time to find inner strength and recognize potential for the coming year. This full moon is in Leo, opposing the sun in Aquarius. It is a balance between what is personal and what isn't. It's the being able to fence off your working garden from the rest of the wilds, yet taking full observation and making use of what's out there in the darklands. That balance may be between home and work, self and partnerships, or present and past. Balance is one of the most difficult things to maintain. Getting it is challenging enough. Maintaining it can sometimes seem like a Herculean feat. The cat symbolism heavily flowing at this time reminds me of the Nemean Lion. The Nemean Lion was said to have impenetrable fur. Eventually, Hercules kills it by strangling it to death and skinning it with one of its own claws. If you aren't familiar with the labors of Hercules, it goes a little bit like this. The goddess Hera resented Zeus's rampant infidelity. Once again, Zeus wants to get his happy on and seduces a woman by disguising himself as something other than who he is. This time, he disguises himself as Amphitryon, impregnating the woman Alcmene, who subsequently gives birth to Hercules. Hera was unhinged and tried various times to kill Hercules. While an infant, Hera tried to kill him by sending poisonous snakes into his crib. As an adult, Hera filled his mind with madness, and in a confused rage, he killed his wife, Megara, and all of their children. When he came back to his senses, he looked around at what he had done, and filled with grief, prayed to the god Apollo. Being that Apollo was the deity of healing and prophecy and knowledge, Hercules asked for his guidance. The oracle told him that he would have to serve Eurystheus, the king of Tiryns and Mycenae, modern-day Argolis, for 12 years as punishment for committing such an atrocity. Hera went to the king and suggested that Hercules be made to do 12 extremely difficult tasks, hoping that one of them would be his final doing in. The gods Hermes and Athena were sympathetic to Hercules' situation and decided to help guide him to accomplish the tasks. By the end of the story, Hercules emerges victorious. The Greeks call this idea of the path of struggles pathos, and associated pathos to Hercules' labors. Pathos is the experience of a virtuous struggle, the enlightenment during the journey, and the overcoming of great obstacles to attain a goal. Some find connections between the 12 labors and the constellations, with the sun personified as Hercules, and its passage through the zodiac year. The labors. Please excuse my pronunciations and sarcastic descriptions of the labors, as they were. 1. Slay the Nemean Lion, which was a woman-stealing lion with an impenetrable fur coat. 2. Slay the Lernaean Hydra, a poison-spewing, stinky snake with a penchant for terrorizing villages. 3. Capture the golden hind or hind, a servitor, which is half deer, half woman, and love interest. She was murdered for being made of pure gold. 4. To capture the Erymanthian boar, a shaggy pig chased and bound as a conversation piece and fear-inspiring war ornament. 5. To clean the stables of King Augeas. I told you my pronunciations are bad. This was a job entailing cleaning up the excrement of 1,000 neglected royal horses. 6. Defeat the Stymphalian birds. Poisoned poop, man-eating bronze-beaked bird beasts. Shot down for being a general pain in the farmer's ass. To capture the Cretan bull, a gluttonous animal caught and eventually released because nobody wanted it. 8. To bring back the mares of Diomedes, fire-breathing hell horses eventually calmed when Hercules fed his best friend to them. 9. Obtain the bell of Hippolyta, Amazon princess who was abducted and murdered for her fashion sense. I know. The stories are bigger than this, I know. 10. Obtain the cattle of Geryon. Big cows belonging to a hell beast man go on a long journey to become ego fodder for a jilted godwife. Sorry, Hera. 11. Bring the golden apples of Hesperides. Happy apples gathered as makeup work for cheating. 12. Capture Cerberus, which is an elaborate quest to disarm Hades' security system. Albeit the labors are symbolic of other huge mythologies, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but you have to find humor where you can. And quite honestly, I find the story of Hercules to be full of it. Astrologically, the characteristics of Leo the Lion are ambition, rulership, custodianship, and warmth. Within Leo is the fixed Bohemian star, Regulus, the heart of the lion, said to portend glory and kingly riches and power to all those born under its influence. Regulus has technically moved into the constellation of Virgo, but not entirely. Talismans empowered by the astrological energy of Regulus are made to attract success in all endeavors, bring happiness and well-being and favors from powerful people. The reason of mentioning all this Greek mythology and Regulus fixed star stuff is because the Herculean strength and labors fits the mind right now, and this full moon seems like a great time to create a talisman based within some of that metaphor. In Agrippa's 3 books of occult philosophy, the making of a Regulus talisman was described as, under the heart of Leo, they made the image of a lion or cat, or the figure of an honorable person sitting in a chair. It renders a man temperate, appeases wrath, and gives favor. In chapter 47, book 1, Agrippa describes the working as, now the manner of making these kinds of rings is this. When any star ascends fortunately with the fortunate aspect or conjunction of the moon, we must take a stone and herb that is under that star and make a ring of the metal that is suitable to the star, and in it fasten the stone, putting the herb or root under it, not omitting the inscriptions of images, names, and characters, as also the proper suffumigations. Book 2, Mansions of the Moon, shows an image of the seal, but I've also included it on the talismanic work that I've provided within this post. The herbs, according to Liber Hermetis, are celandine juice, wormwood, and mastic. The stone is a garnet engraved with the image of a lion and the seal of Regulus. Mastic is a tree. People use the sap, the resin, to make medicine, especially in medicinal use for digestive problems. It's the sticky stuff. So basically glue. It's not specified whether greater or lesser celandine is employed in the working. Greater celandine has also been used as a digestive medicinal, but it can be toxic. It is a species of the poppy, so opium-type effects could also be a thing here. Wormwood is a Saturnian herb, and I believe its effects are pretty self-explanatory. Now, I'm a sympathetic witch, so my connections are quite frequently empathic or inner knowing. I'm also pretty careful when it comes to wild and woolly high strangeness from the lands of far away, aka anything ancient. Substitutions are never the same as the original, and you do have to be extremely careful when considering it. However, in regard to making this Talisman of Regulus, my personal opinion is that you can employ the herbs that you feel are potent and powerful in regard to your personal desire. And please don't use anything toxic. Herbal essence will be released if you wear a talisman as a ring. Because of sweat and general contact, anytime it meets the skin, contact is made. Instead of wormwood, I find pine needles and bits of pine roots and bark are a valid substitution. Pine is a symbol of the Yuletide and winter season, and of course are Saturnian in that respect as well. They are evergreen, and in being such, a symbol of immortality. In my opinion, wormwood is not needed. If you absolutely must have wormwood in your working, maybe sip on a bit of genuine thujone containing absinthe. I would personally employ the herb mugwort instead of celandine. Mugwort is a moon herb that brings deep understanding. I would also use pine sap as a fixative, and I would forego mastic altogether. Wormwood is classically a Saturnian herb, but I wouldn't burn it for fuck's sake, and I would especially not have it constantly grinding away on my chest or finger all day either. Wormwood, like yew and mistletoe, are seen as plants of the underworld, especially in regards to knowing and understanding secrets, aka locked doors and hidden treasures, as well as immortality, because if you're lucky, they won't kill you when ingested. Story time. So, once upon a time when I was 5, I ate a little helping of yew berries, and I assure you that it was awkward. I'm lucky I didn't die. And I just ended up running a very high fever and hallucinated for the next few days. Some children and animals aren't that lucky. As a 5-year-old, I didn't quite understand what I was experiencing. I saw what I think was my own shadow on the wall, fighting with another shadow of me. Shadow boxing. A ghost nurse came out of my closet and sat on my bed and talked to me. At least once I remember her telling the shadows to keep it down because I was sick and trying to get better. I could say that perhaps this was a symbolic representation of the shadow self and life obstacles. Me fighting with myself over which part has dominance. This creates its own illness, doesn't it? Confidence wasn't a key, however, partnership and integration is. But the meanderings of an older woman contemplating the hallucinations of a 5-year-old me. Anyway, so the original directions say that the garnet should be set in a ring or pendant with some of the ground herbs beneath it, then pass through these herbs as an incense smoke, while verbalizing a petition for success, well-being, and fame, or whatever you seek as your own personal success story. Regulus is a smile and laugh when needed. It raises the energy when there is sadness and melancholy. It brings resolution, vitality, and grants a keen sense of awareness and practicality, especially in regard to planning, strategy, and motivation. Regulus, regulation, regulate, balance. On the flip side, when out of balance or when influenced by certain energies, a reaction of violence, destructiveness, military honor of short duration with ultimate failure, imprisonment, violent death, success, high and lofty ideals and strength of spirit, and makes its natives magnanimous, grandly liberal, generous, ambitious, fond of power, desirous of command, high-spirited, and independent, according to Vivian Robson. These flip side or adverse effects are human characteristics. This is what happens when you're caught off guard and the domino effects of striking hot and not thinking things through happens. It is the effects of self-doubt, letting someone else take the wheel, and using power for ill will by unfair means. Regulus doesn't think fondly of the liar, conniver, or thief. It brings honor to those who are befitting a king or queen. In other words, those who act as teachers, guides, and healers. The wise folk. Off-balanced Regulus energy becomes subservient, jealous, and reckless. Now, the talisman shouldn't create these effects. If the truth of one's heart are known and are understood, little bits of these human traits will always seep through the cracks, but the wisdom helps to remind of the values. Never create a talisman without feeling the truth. And what I mean by that is to merely know is not enough. Reading and memorizing what you read isn't enough. You must meditate or contemplate on how various herbs, stones, energies, and etc. are meaningful to you personally. You should research and understand how the potential chemicals in the plants you are using work, and how they are or have been used in medicine and spiritual matters. You should know what correspondences are activated and why, meaning if you are working within a certain cultural spirituality, certain correspondences may be ambiently made. Why would a king wear a ring that could poison him? Well, maybe part of the understanding of why is based in the hallucinogenic aspects of the herbs used. Our modern understandings, expectations, and standards are not the same as our forebears. We can gain insight, but we can't completely relate, and that is usually a good thing, especially in regard to suffering. What people used to have to do is not what we have to do anymore. We can take inspiration from them, meaning we can see why they may have had chosen to move or act in a certain way, considering the factors in their environment at the time. We can compare similar to things we are experiencing or have going on in our own life and think, hey, you know what? I could employ a similar action or strategy by doing X, Y, or Z. The talisman need not be made of metal or gold. I've made talismanic satchels and they do just fine. They need to be recharged or reattuned from time to time, but they do get the job done. They do what they need to do. Sometimes an energy will seem to take longer. It may seem to take the hard path. It may seem as though it isn't working, but I assure you it is. However, I did make a Talisman of Saturn once, while it was in retrograde. The effect was supposed to be one thing, but it caused bad luck. And that's the only thing I can describe what happened as a result of it. And I mean bad. We had to rework a spell backwards, burn the talisman, and then take the ashes to a place of great movement. Never make a talisman by 1, trying to get over on either your connection and or belief to in an ability, agency, or energy of the planet or star. And 2, never make a talisman to do harm or vengeance. That shit will come up and bite you in the ass. I'm not talking about karma. I'm talking about what you wire into your energetic field intentionally. It can be like rubbing yourself all over with blood and then walking into the forest at night. Yeah, don't do that. You are what you eat, essentially, so just be mindful that this also applies to taking in directed energies. I usually finely ground or powder herbs corresponding to the work into the clay that I will engrave sigils into. The clay can be colored with dye. Make it a good clay, because the cheap stuff breaks easily. I've also burned sigils into wood and leather. You just have to contemplate on what is best for you. If you don't wear jewelry, well, then don't make it. Maybe make something that you'll attach to your wallet, or a dongle for a belt, or a shoelace might be better. You gotta be creative with this, you know? I mean, the talismans work because you have taken energies, chemicals, understandings, beliefs, and you've mixed them all together. Where you put it is also meaningful and symbolic. That's the magic. I mean, you could make several. You don't just make one. Maybe making several will be of service, with you placing them in places that you occupy. The idea is that it should be on you, hence the effects given to the wearer, but you do you. Just think through it. Now you can find the directions for my Heart of the Lion Talisman of Success on my website. It's going to be a printable shadow book page in JPEG format. You can find it by going to ravynmoon.com, clicking through, following the links in the top of the site. Follow to where it says blog. And on the blog, you're going to look for Heart of the Lion Talisman of Success. And what you'll find is the written version of what I've said here, along with the link to the printable shadow book page. And as always, if you need any help, don't hesitate to ask. Thanks for listening.